Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and honestly, deeply transformative concept in operational efficiency. We're going to look at exactly how you can take a chaotic, confusing physical work environment and turn it into a beautifully efficient, talking workplace. I'm so excited to guide you through this material because the frameworks we're about to explore, they don't just change how a workplace looks, they fundamentally change how a workplace thinks and solves problems.
To understand why this works so incredibly well, we actually have to start with human biology. Did you know that about 80% of our brains are dedicated exclusively to visual processing? 80%! We are literally hardwired to process the world through our eyes. So, if we want to build a work environment that's genuinely efficient, we absolutely need to lean into that fact and bake it directly into our workplace design. We need mechanisms that communicate complex operational information in a single glance, no verbal intervention required.
So I want to challenge you right now with a little thought experiment. We call it the stranger test. Imagine a complete stranger walks into your workplace right now, looks around. Could they get totally up to speed with how the area works in just 5 minutes? Would they instantly know what a good day looks like versus a bad day? If the answer is no, well, your workplace is likely suffering from high ambiguity and a seriously heavy cognitive workload. Deliberate visual design strips away the need to make decisions based on unspoken, hidden knowledge. And simply put, fewer guesses mean fewer mistakes.
Here is a quick look at our roadmap for today. 1. The talking workplace. 2. 4 levels of control. 3. Visual management centers. 4. Tracking at the Gemba. And 5. Systems over people.
Okay, let's dive right into this with Section 1, the talking workplace, focusing on nonverbal communication at work. Basically, visual management is a method to quickly determine departures from a standard process. You have a clearly defined, agreed-upon standard and a way to instantly, and I mean instantly, see if you're deviating from it. Organizations really need to strive to design a workplace that almost talks to you, raising its hand to make problems immediately apparent. Why is that so absolutely crucial? Because if you can respond to issues the exact moment they occur, you can ask, why did this happen while the trail is still warm? You catch the root cause, tweak the process, and stop a tiny hiccup from snowballing into a massive failure.
Beyond just catching problems early, the everyday, tangible benefits are staggering. A talking workplace prevents all those avoidable, repetitive questions, it clarifies targets for improvement, and it massively cuts down on the time people spend just searching for things. But here's the real kicker. When systems are well-designed visually, they actually reduce baseline error rates by approximately 1/3. Just think about that. A 33% gain in quality and efficiency just by changing how information is physically displayed around you.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 2, 4 levels of control, establishing our foundation. Now, there are 4 distinct levels of visual control, and they build sequentially. You can't skip a step. Step 1 is 5S workplace organization. This creates basic process transparency, so the fundamentals are executed flawlessly. Then, Step 2 is visual display, putting standards and storyboards out there so information is shared at a glance. Next up, Step 3 introduces visual controls to actively prevent defects. This is where you use things like floor markings to catch abnormal conditions before they ruin a product. And finally, Step 4 is true visual management, the daily, living practice of using all this to trigger root cause problem solving.
To get a sense of what Level 1 actually looks like in practice, think about the physical tools involved. It might seem incredibly basic, right? We're talking about red, green, yellow, and black floor tape, shadowboard stencil sets, double-sided tape, and simple audit sheets. But these are the literal building blocks of transparency. By using color-coded tape to map out areas, or shadowboards that show exactly where every tool lives, anyone, and I mean anyone, can instantly see if a tool is missing. Without that basic, undeniable operational excellence, reaching those higher levels is just a pipe dream.
Which brings us to Section 3, Visual Management Centers, the central repository.
Now what's really interesting here is the sheer breadth of information captured in one single location. We're talking about a Final Assembly Visual Management Center, or VMC. Think of it as the central nervous system of the floor. Anyone can walk up to this layout and rapidly figure out what's under control and what's going off the rails. You've got safety performance, quality, delivery tracking, employee engagement, and even Kaizen, that continuous improvement idea activity, all mapped out visually in one spot.
And a VMC isn't just corporate wallpaper. It's a highly active daily operational tool. You use it as the absolute anchor for your daily stand-up meetings. It tells the team their exact work priorities, calls out anomalies, and tracks the pulse of every metric. Plus, because everyone can see real-time feedback and structured A3 problem-solving reports, which is a lean framework for solving issues on a single piece of paper, it drastically cuts down on endless, ad hoc meetings. The wall itself is doing the heavy lifting of communicating.
Let's speed things up a bit for Section 4, tracking at the Gemba, real-time action on the front line. Gemba, by the way, is a lean term for the real place where the work actually happens, like the factory floor. So we have the high-level VMC, but we also need to get granular right where the action is.
So the crucial point is how aggressively real-time this tracking needs to be. Take a week-by-the-hour report. Production numbers aren't updated at the end of the shift or the end of the week. No, they are manually updated by frontline staff on a strict hour-by-hour basis. They write down the target versus the actual outcome. And critically, if they miss that target, they have to immediately jot down the reason. It gives the workplace a heartbeat, a strict tempo, instantly shining a spotlight on the exact roadblocks hindering the team hour by hour.
Finally, Section 5, Systems over People, the ultimate goal of visual tracking. We've talked about the tape, the metrics, and the hourly targets. But to really bring this all together, we need to pivot and talk about the profound, deeply human-centric philosophy behind all these lean practices.
It is absolutely vital to understand that visual management is not about making an area look neat or attractive for visitors. That's a total myth. It's entirely about working better by sharing information non-verbally. The whole point of posting operational metrics is to brutally focus on the process so we can improve the system. These metrics must never, ever be used as a stick to beat people with. They cannot be perceived as punitive.
This is the essence of management by sight. The old adage really is true. What gets measured gets improved. But the secret sauce is making those metrics actually meaningful to the people doing the work. And the amazing thing the source material points out, once your team actually experiences the benefits, once they realize that exposing a problem means that problem actually gets fixed, they don't push back. They'll actually start asking you for even more visual management. I want to leave you with this incredibly powerful quote from Dr. W. Edwards Deming to wrap up this explainer. 94% of problems are system, not people-related. When we put down floor tape or hang up an hour-by-hour board, our goal is never to point fingers at people. The goal is to expose the hidden flaws in the system so the people can finally fix them. So looking at your own workplace, what hidden system failures are just waiting to be made visible? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the talking workplace, and I really hope you leave inspired to make your own environment speak up.